coordinator here. We're at the county over there. But today I'm your lake consultant under my business, More Lake and Garden LLC. So I do invasive species education, monitoring, some control depending on what it is. So like blue stripe, Japanese knotweed, that sort of thing. Trying to dabble into website design and management. I also do like stormwater practices, rain garden designs, native plantings, and that implementation and stuff. So if you have anything, think about me when you need any of that stuff. I came to Burnett County, I live in Burnett County, but I came to Wisconsin from Michigan. So I have 10 years experience or so in lake management and invasive species. I have a master's in aquatic science, so I actually studied starry stonewort. I'm not going to talk about starry stonewort today just because I can talk about it all day. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me. So I'm under the Gilmore grant for lake education, so I'm writing a write-up alongside this in-person workshop. So basically what you're going to learn today is what invasive species are, how to identify Eurasian water milfoil and other invasive species that are around Gilmore Lake, some policy and management, just primarily about hand removal today, and then what can you guys do to prevent, monitor, and control ingrown. So yeah, this is what you're going to be learning about. These are the outcomes that I'm hoping that you'll take away from today, as well as the written portion that I have writing up. So you'll be able to understand the invasive species and what their potential impacts are. You'll be able to identify common lookalikes that are native as well as the invasive species, and then how you can take part in controlling, monitoring, and prevention. So invasive species, I'm sure you all know what they are. Can you guys raise a hand if you know what an invasive species is? Okay. So yeah, any invasive species is non-native, it's not from here. So usually they come over from other countries. So Europe and North America are actually the largest invasive species exchange. So they have all of our species and we have all of their species. So that St. Croix or the St. Lawrence River from Maine into the Great Lakes. So the Great Lakes states, primarily Michigan, is where they come into, and then they hitchhike on trailers, the docks. If you buy a new dock and you put it into a new lake and you decontaminate it. The water aquarium trade, so a lot of these species like Eurasian water milfoil and curly pondweed were sold in pet stores before you put them into your water gardens or your aquariums, and then you dump them into the lake. That's how those get in as well. Like the goldfish, there's a lot of goldfish in Minnesota. They aren't supposed to be here. They're basically carp, so they act like carp. Invasive species tendencies, so they have adapted these tendencies to be more invasive than our native species. So that includes hybridization. That includes propagation by fragments. Most of our native species can do fragmentation, but they primarily are through seeds. So fragmentation's something that they use. They can accumulate monoculture stands. That just means that they just pack themselves in an area, and it's just one species. They compete for space and just create these large stands of just one species. What you want in a lake is a high diverse plant community, just because all those plants are working in unison. So when invasive species come in, they reduce that, and that reduces your ecological services that you have in the lake. Some native species can create monoculture stands. It's not just an invasive species thing. I know some of the naiad species can be a nuisance. Even northern water milfoil, it just depends on what your lake environment is at that time. And then, yep, the creating does canopies. Like they basically can lay on the surface and it impedes on recreational activities, swimming, and your other water activities that you do use in the lake. some species, which I'll get into a little bit later. The interesting thing is a lot of these invasive species don't persist. Only 1% of the species that are introduced are invasive. Unfortunately, some of those are what we deal with in the water area, just because we don't really know what's going on underneath the water. It's a really unique ecosystem. We know what's going on in land because we can visibly see it, but what is going on under the lake is a mystery. So a lot of that 1% of those species are our aquatic species. I have a little bit of out of order here, but okay, so the next section is going to be identification. So, are you guys familiar with this book at all? This is the Bible for plants. There's every plant that you would probably see in Gilmore Lake in this book, and it has colored